I'm going to show you a surefire trick that's going to make solving Sudoku puzzles easier. Not only that, I'll show you all the expert tips, tricks, and strategies needed to solve this puzzle by Pietato. Click below if you want to give it a go. With that, it's solving time. Hope you notice this puzzle kind of looks like a nice tulip going like this way. You know, this is kind of the bulb area. Look at this 4, 6 cutting into block 3. There's only 2 places for the 4 and the 6. That's a hidden pair, and we will want to notice that. And this is going to be, you know, could be possibly a 1, 2, 3, 8, 9. But you'll notice there's a 1 and a 3 right there, which will get rid of that. But also we got this 2 coming up, column 7, and this 2 cutting across, which makes a pointing pair of 2s right here. And so I'm going to do a little Snyder notation. And in case you're not familiar, Snyder notation, anytime you have 2 possibilities for a candidate in a 3x3 block, mark them. And it'll lead to things like pointing pairs, or if you solve one itself, you can solve the other one immediately for that candidate. Okay, so since a 2 has to be one of these spots in block 6, this can't be a 2 anymore. You cut over this way, you see the 2 and the 3 right here. You get rid of those 2s and 3s. And then with the way this 1 is set up, and it's 1 cutting across, there's only 2 places for a 1 in block 2, which is another pointing pair. And what's nice is now this creates an 8, 9 naked pair. Since 8 and 9 are now the only two possibilities for these 2 cells, we can get rid of the 8 and the 9 from those other 3 cells. This is critical. You do have to see this. And it sets up for a very cool Sudoku trick, something I've featured before, but not recently. And so I got this request from Alexander. I appreciate you asking me to do this. I am going to show you how to solve this puzzle, which I haven't solved before, using this cool trick. And I say surefire, and so what does that mean? Well, I'm about to show you. Other things you want to keep in mind here, and it's very important, is you have like a 2, 6 here, 2, 6 here, and so the 2 and 6 are limited to these 2 spots in block 8. So that makes them a hidden pair. And this is a 1, 3, 4. We can trim this up a little bit. The key thing to note is that these 1s are a pointing pair, and that will come in handy later. So the 1s and 2s are putting a lot of pressure on this puzzle. Another pointing pair I want to show is I got the 2 down column 3 and row 6, means the 2s are limited to these 2 spots in block 4. So where can a 2 be down here? It can only be in one of these 2 spots, right? Because these 2s mean it can't be there. This 2 can't be here, and this 2 comes across. And where can the 1s be down here? Well, because of the 1 and the pointing pair of 1s, and this one right here, you only got 2 spots for 1. And what's critical to note is that the 1 and 2, they intersect in this spot here. Other thing you really want to notice about this puzzle, and this is what makes the logic work, it makes it a much easier solve than if you try to do it the way a computer does. You got the 1 and 2 right here, and you got the 1 and 2 right here. That means 1 and 2 can't be in any of these spots on the edges. It can't be any of those spots on the edges. So it puts a lot of restriction on where it can be in columns 1 and 9, and rows 9 and row 1. That's what you have to notice if you want to find this neat, surefire trick. And so what we want to focus on is where can 1s and 2s be a block here, because that's how it's going to make this neat strategy work. Well, you notice the 2 can be either here or here along row 1, okay? And then a 2 could be here. In fact, this cell is actually a pretty important cell, and we need to figure it out. So this is how the trick is going to work, and you're going to just absolutely love it. All right, this can't be a 1. It could be a 2, but it can't be a 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, or 9. So this could be a 2 or a 7. And if you come over here, the thing you'll notice about the 1s now, you got the 1 can't be in any of these spots. So 1's got to be in one of those cells here in column 9, and a 1 can't be there because of this one right there. I want to make sure I cut that out for you. All right, let's look across here, and you'll notice that this cell right here, this is another critical cell. It could be a 1, but it can't be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, or 9. This could be a 1 or a 7. So we have a way to figure out and eliminate one of these candidates from these 2 cells. We can solve it pretty easily. And this is where the neat trick comes in. And this trick is called Sudoku Firework. All right. And I've featured fireworks before, and they're really a cool way, and I'll explain a little bit about how it works and how logic works, but it does remind me of this great puzzle where I did 2 fireworks, and so I'll put a link to the end. You do want to check that out. It's going to be amazing. And while you're at it, subscribe to Smart Hobbies. Okay, now let's get on to kind of figure out what all this means. What you want to do is, depending on what the value of this cell, it's going to put restriction all the way down here because of the way the 1s and 2s are linked. And so what you want to do is come here and go, okay, this could only be 3 possibilities. If this is one of the 3 possibilities, what does that do to the rest of this puzzle, especially to these 2 cells? Now let's check out this really cool trick. We gotta go through all 3 scenarios. All right, this is a 1. This would be a 3, this would be a 2. Okay, and with these 2s here, you'd have a 2 up there. All right, this would be a 6. That'd be a 2. This can't be a 2 anymore, so you'd have a 2 down here, which means this cell would have to be a 1. And then what you notice is with this one and this cell right here would have to be a 1 as well. And what does that mean? Well, with this 2 right here, this would be a 7, and this cell would also be a 7 because of this one right here. All right, so remember, and I'll just kind of highlight these cells as we're kind of working along. All right, first scenario, this is a 1. These are both 7s. Okay, let's go back and figure out what happens if this is a 2. All right, if this is a 2, then that'd be a 3, that'd be a 1. And then this cell right here is the only place left for a 1 in column 9. So then that cell would have to be a 1. Then you could solve this cell for a 1 because of this 1 coming down right there. And which means this cell down here would be a 1. That'd be a 2. This would be a 6. This would be a 2. Okay? And what does that mean for our puzzle? It means that this cell would be a 7, and this cell would be a 7. Well, look at that. Both those cells would be a 7 again if this was a 2. So if it's a 1 or 2, both those cells end up being a 7. Wow, that's crazy. I wonder what happens if we put in a 3. Because we've been dealing with 1s and 2s. It probably doesn't do anything with 3, right? Well, let's see. Okay, that's a 3. What happens here? We got a 2 and we got a 1. Okay, now same situation with this one and the 1 here in column 8. This cell would have to be a 1. And then with these 2 1s and this 1 means this has to be a 1 here. That's going to be a 1. That's going to be your 2. The only place left for 2 in block 7. All right, which just makes this a 6, this a 2. What does that mean? Because of this 2, that's a 7. And because of this 1, that is also a 7. All 3 cases, those 2 cells have to be a 7. This is amazing stuff. And the reason it works is because you're kind of pointing into these edge cells and pointing in here. And when you have the restriction of only 1 cell outside the row and then a couple possibilities within, it just kind of drives. And you saw that this cell right here has to be a 1 or 2 every time. And so we can actually mark that that's going to be a 1 or 2. But the big thing, and what this neat trick is, that's going to save you a lot of time, surefire method to make this an easier solve, is to know that both of these have to be a 7, no matter what is in this cell. This is great. If you want to see Reward Puzzle Packs exclusive content from setters like this, check out the pinned comment below to join the Smarty Party. All right, let's get all this cleaned up because I don't want to make any mistakes here. And let's go back. What we note is that both of these cells have to be, without a doubt, a 7. And what does that do for our puzzle? Well, the 7 here and here means this cell right now also has to be a 7. Okay, and then let's look right here. What can this cell be? Well, it can't be a 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Now it can't be a 7, 8, 9. This cell has to be a 4. And because of these 2 4s, only place left for 4 in block 4 is right there. So we're able to solve for the 4 real quick. And then what you might remember, since this can't be a 1, there's only one place left for 1 across row 6. So this now has to be your 1. So we can get rid of the 1 up there. Something else I'm going to do, just to make life easier, is we notice that this has to be a 1 or a 2 down there, right? And so I'm just going to keep that 1 and 2 right there. This is great stuff. Okay, but now what you got here is this 2, 3 naked pair. You got an 8, 9 there, and you look down, it's like, okay, where can a 5 be in column 9? We got a 5, row 7, a 5 in row 9. It can't be in these other spots, so this actually has to be a 5. So it's kind of nice. We can solve the 5 right there. With this 5 and this 5 cutting across, we can solve for a 5 and solve for our 2 right there, which makes this a 2. Nice. And then if we cut across here, what are we looking for? It looks like a 5 and a 6. We can't solve the 5, 6 yet, but we'll mark that in there. And then this would be a 3 or an 8. So we can mark a 3 or an 8. You want to notice with the 6 cutting across, we can actually solve this cell now for a 6. And with this 3, 8, there's only one cell remaining. It has to be a 9, and we can solve this cell for an 8. All right, making great progress. And then, you probably noticed this type of solving isn't that hard. All right, let's get rid of that 2. What are we missing? Looks like a 3 and a 1. Well, I got my 1 right here. So here's your 1, and there's your 3. All right, and so now this can't be the 1 anymore. So this cell now has to be the 1, and that's going to be your 2, which makes this hidden pair solved because then we got the 6 and the 2 figured out, which is going to give us a 5 and the 6. I love when we gobble up those BVCs, those by cells, and do some great solving. Okay, 5 here and a 5 here means this cell has to be a 5 now. And then let's continue on with our solve. Got a 5 here and a 5 here. With this 5 means this has to be a 5. All right, and we're going to move on. Let's see, what else can we do? Okay, we got these 2 1s here, which means this has to be your 1. Didn't mark that earlier, but I did now. And now we're going to, again, look for more restrictions in this puzzle. Okay, where can a 7 be now in column 9? Well, this 7's cutting across, so that means that has to be a 7. With this 7 and the 7 in column 1, we can solve that cell for a 7, solve this cell for a 7, and we got all the 7s taken care of. What do we have left here in column 2? It looks like we need a 4 and a 9. Can't solve the 4 and a 9 yet, but it will give us 2 restrictions here. It looks like we need a 3 and an 8. And I'll mark that real quick, and I think we'll be able to solve this 3 and 8 pretty quickly here. Okay. Let's move on to some more solving. So we got the 3, 8. What are we looking for here? It looks like we need a 3, 8, and when the other thing we need is a 4. But I got my 4 cutting across the top, so that's got to be your 4, which would leave this for a 3, 8. All right, looking good, looking good. And then with these 2 4s, now we can disambiguate the 6 and the 4 here in block 3, which is nice. And now with these 2 4s, we know that 4's got to be in one of those 2 spots, 4, 8, and a 9. So this would be, looks like your 4, 8, and that would be, looks like a 4, 8, 9. Okay, great. Cut across here, it looks like we need a 3, 4, 9, but hey, I got a 4 and a 9 right here. So this is actually going to be your 3, which makes this a 4, makes this a 9, makes this 4. Okay, now we did that, we're going to be able to make some nice, many more great solves here. Okay, so we got a 1, 3, 1, 3 here, which makes this the 8 and makes this a 3. Once we got the 8, now we know that's got to be your 4. Awesome. 8, 9. This, we also know this is actually going to be an 8, 9 because that's all that's left down this column. So what that leaves here is a 6. Okay. And let's move on over. We'll get the 8, 9 in there. We'll come back to that in just a second. But what are you looking for here is we got, a naked triple there. We can actually solve this for the 8 first because we solved that 3, which would now give us that 9, 8, 9, 8. Awesome. All right. And now this, call this naked triple here. It looks like a 3, a 6, and a 9. Well, I see a 6 and a 9 right here and a 6 repeated. That means we can solve all 3 cells right away. This has got to be a 3, that's got to be your 6, and this has got to be your 9 because we know where, because of the 6 and the 6 and 9, where those cells have to be. Love using that trick as much as I can. All right, these 2 9s, the 9 cutting across here means this is going to be a 9, displaces that Snyder 1, which means this has to be a 1, that has to be your 3, which makes this an 8, makes this a 3. Okay, getting close to the end here. Because of this 3, that's a 2, that's a 3. We got 2 cells left. We're missing a 2, but I see a 2 in column 6. So that's got to be a 2. And the last cell is an 8. You need to watch this other video if you want to solve Sudoku Fireworks even better. Thank you so much, Pia Tato, for letting me feature your puzzles on this channel, and thank you so much for watching.